The year was 2325, and humanity had just begun to spread its wings beyond Earth. After decades of preparation, a fleet of human ships had finally ventured into deep space on a mission to explore and make contact with alien civilizations. The fleet was led by Captain Alina, a brilliant strategist and a natural leader who had been chosen for this important task. As the ships glided through the unknown expanse of space, the crew members aboard each vessel felt a mix of excitement and nervousness. Their journey had taken years to prepare for, and this was their moment to prove humanity's place in the galaxy. They had advanced technology, powerful ships, and the unwavering resolve of humans who had always faced challenges head-on. But even so, there was an uneasy silence that lingered among the crew, knowing that they were about to encounter civilizations far beyond Earth's understanding. On the bridge of the flagship, Captain Alina stood in front of the large viewing window, gazing out into the dark void of space. The stars twinkled in the distance, each one a potential new discovery. Her thoughts were interrupted when her communication officer, Lieutenant Harris, called her over to the console. "Captain, we've detected an incoming transmission," he said. The screen flickered to life, showing the symbol of a vast alien empire. The Galactic Empire, one of the most powerful forces in the galaxy, had noticed their presence. "Put it through," Captain Alina ordered. A stern voice crackled through the speakers. "Human fleet, this is the Galactic Empire. You are trespassing in our territory. Cease your journey at once, or face the consequences. This is your final warning." Alina's eyes narrowed as she listened. The Empire's message was clear. They were not welcome here. The threat of destruction was not a mere bluff, but a promise of absolute power. The humans had no idea what they were up against. Yet something inside her stirred. The humans had never been known to back down from a fight, no matter how impossible it seemed. She turned to her crew. "This is exactly what we've trained for. We won't be intimidated. We'll show them the strength of humanity." Her voice was firm, filled with confidence. The crew members exchanged glances, their nerves slowly turning into determination. They had come a long way, and they weren't about to let anyone push them around. "We will proceed with our mission," Captain Alina continued, her gaze fixed on the distant stars. "Let's show them that humanity will not be cowed. We fight for our right to explore, to learn, and to survive." The crew cheered, their spirits lifted by the captain's words. As they made their way deeper into space, the feeling of unease was replaced with something stronger: purpose. They were about to face the Galactic Empire, and they weren't going to back down. The future of humanity was at stake, and they would do whatever it took to protect it. But the crew had no idea how close they were to the storm that was about to hit. In the vastness of space, a new chapter in human history was about to begin, one that would test their strength, their resolve, and their very survival. The human fleet continued its journey through the vast emptiness of space, undeterred by the threatening message from the Galactic Empire. Captain Alina knew that the Empire was powerful, but she believed in humanity's ability to adapt, outthink, and survive. The crew members, now focused and united, prepared for whatever might come next. They couldn't afford to hesitate. A few days after the transmission, the Empire's flagship arrived, its enormous size blocking out the stars. The ship was unlike anything the humans had ever seen, sleek, dark, and intimidating. It looked as though it had been built with the sole purpose of crushing any opposition in its path. The crew aboard the human ships could only watch in awe and dread as the alien vessel approached. "We need to make contact," Captain Alina said, her voice steady but filled with resolve. "Prepare for a diplomatic meeting. We must try to talk first." Lieutenant Harris, her communication officer, nodded and activated the communication system. A few moments later, a transmission came through. The screen flickered to life, showing the face of an alien official, a tall, imposing figure with dark, smooth skin and sharp features. The alien's eyes glowed with an eerie light as it spoke in a language that was translated to the human crew's language by the ship's systems. "You are brave, humans, to have entered our territory," the alien said in a cold, calculating voice. "But your bravery is misguided. You are trespassers, and I am here to offer you one chance to submit to the Galactic Empire's rule. Cease your mission and turn back, or face the consequences." Captain Alina stood tall in front of the communication console, her expression unwavering. She knew the Empire was powerful, but she was not about to back down. "We are explorers, not invaders. We came in peace to learn, to understand, and to share knowledge. We do not bow to threats." The alien's lips curled into a small, disdainful smile. "You misunderstand, human. This is not a matter of peace or war. It is a matter of power. The Empire rules this galaxy, and those who do not comply are eliminated. You have no place here." The words stung, but Captain Alina refused to show fear. "We may not have the power you do, but we have something stronger. Our will, and we will not be intimidated." The alien's eyes narrowed. "Your persistence is noted, but it will not change your fate. You will submit, or you will be destroyed. The choice is yours." The transmission ended abruptly, leaving the crew in stunned silence. For a moment, no one spoke. The weight of the Empire's words hung in the air like a heavy cloud, but Captain Alina was the first to break the silence. "This is it. They've made their intentions clear," she said, her voice strong. "We will not submit. We will stand our ground. But we must be careful. The Empire will not hesitate to destroy us if we push too far." She turned to her officers, her eyes filled with determination. "Prepare the fleet. We will continue our mission, but we must do it smartly. We will show them that humanity is not so easily crushed." The crew nodded, their fear replaced by a shared resolve. They were no longer just explorers. They were now the defenders of humanity's right to exist in the galaxy. As the human fleet moved forward, Captain Alina couldn't help but feel a sense of pride. They had stood up to the most powerful empire in the galaxy. The fight was far from over, but they had already made their mark. They would not go down without a fight. The vastness of space stretched endlessly before the human fleet, but there was no turning back now. Captain Alina stood at the helm of the flagship, watching the enormous Galactic Empire ship grow larger and larger on the view screen. It was a moment she knew would define her crew's future. The Empire's flagship, a behemoth of black metal, was a symbol of power and dominance. It was hard to believe that a group of humans, with their limited resources and technology, could face such a force. The crew aboard the human ships had been trained for moments like this, but that didn't stop the nervous energy that buzzed throughout the fleet. They had expected a confrontation, but the reality of facing the Empire was something else. Yet there was a calm determination in Captain Alina's heart. She trusted her crew, and she believed in humanity's ability to outthink their enemies. "We're approaching their flagship," Lieutenant Harris said, his voice tense. "They're powering up weapons, Captain." "Ready our defenses," Alina replied, her voice steady but firm. "We'll stay on high alert, but we don't initiate any action unless they fire first." As the two fleets drew closer, the gap between them felt like an eternity. The humans were vastly outnumbered. The Empire had thousands of ships at its command, and their flagship alone could probably wipe out the entire human fleet with a single blast. But the humans had something that the Empire didn't understand: unpredictability. A loud hum echoed through the ship as the Empire's flagship powered its weapons. Then, without warning, a beam of pure energy shot out from the Empire's ship, aimed directly at the human fleet. "Brace for impact," Alina shouted, as her crew scrambled to activate the shields. The beam of energy slammed into their defenses, rattling the ship, but the human shields held strong, absorbing the force. "Damage report," Alina demanded, gripping the control panel tightly. "Minor damage to the outer hull," reported the chief engineer, her voice shaking slightly. "Shields holding steady. No casualties." Captain Alina nodded, a surge of pride filling her. The humans had survived their first direct hit, and the Empire's first attack had not crippled them. It was more than anyone had expected. "Return fire," Alina ordered. The human fleet fired their weapons, laser beams that, while not as powerful as the Empire's, packed enough punch to make the aliens take notice. The Empire's ships were massive, but the humans were fast and agile. The Empire ships couldn't track the humans' erratic movements. It was as if they were dancing around the Empire's attacks, avoiding their most powerful weapons with skill and precision. "We're actually doing it," Harris exclaimed in disbelief as another Empire ship was hit. Captain Alina smiled but quickly refocused. This wasn't a time for celebration. Yet, the humans had a long way to go before they could win this battle. "Stay focused," she said, her voice cold and determined. "We've shown them we're not an easy target. Now let's make them realize they've made a mistake." The Empire wasn't used to resistance. They expected submission, not this human defiance. And though they were powerful, they weren't prepared for the humans' resourcefulness and unrelenting spirit. As the battle raged on, Captain Alina knew they had only just begun. But already, she could feel the tide turning. The humans were no longer just survivors. They were becoming a force the Empire could no longer ignore. The Empire's flagship loomed overhead, its dark shape casting a shadow over the human fleet. Despite the fierce battle unfolding, Captain Alina's confidence only grew. She had watched her crew adapt and react with a speed that even the Empire hadn't anticipated. Each move, each strategy, was a testament to human ingenuity. And though they were still outnumbered, the humans were showing their true strength. The Empire, however, had not expected such a fight. They had believed that with their overwhelming numbers and superior technology, the humans would fold under pressure. But as each passing minute revealed, humanity was not so easily defeated. "We've avoided 2 direct hits, Captain," Lieutenant Harris reported from the radar station. "Our tactics are confusing them. They don't know how to respond." Alina nodded but remained focused. She knew the Empire's arrogance was their greatest weakness. They had underestimated humanity, assuming their superior firepower would guarantee victory. But what the Empire didn't understand was that humans had something more: adaptability. The human ships zigzagged through space, evading the Empire's attacks with precision. With each narrowly avoided shot, the human fleet's confidence grew. The Empire's massive ships, although powerful, lacked the agility that the smaller human vessels possessed. The humans knew their ships couldn't take a head-on battle, so they used their speed to their advantage, drawing the Empire's fire and retaliating with well-placed shots. One of the Empire's warships, a heavily armored vessel, attempted to corner the flagship of the human fleet. It charged, its massive guns prepared to fire. The Empire believed that the human ship would be an easy target. But Captain Alina had a different plan. "Now," she whispered, a smirk playing at the corners of her lips. She watched as her ship sharply turned to the right, using the asteroid field nearby as cover. The Empire warship barreled forward, completely missing its target. "What just happened?" Harris exclaimed, his eyes wide with disbelief. They walked right into our trap." A loud explosion echoed across the communication channels. The human fleet had managed to destroy the Empire warship, using their speed and wit to land a powerful, unexpected blow. The Empire, now furious, began to deploy more ships to surround the humans. But every time they tried to close in, the humans danced around their fire, using unpredictable tactics. The humans had turned the tables, and now the Empire was starting to doubt the outcome of this battle. "Tell the fleet to keep moving. Don't give them a chance to regroup," Captain Alina ordered. "We've got them on the defensive. Let's keep them there." But even as the humans celebrated their small victories, they knew the battle was far from over. The Empire was powerful, and they wouldn't give up easily. Captain Alina could see the changes in their tactics. The Empire's ships were getting closer, their movements more coordinated. "They're learning, Captain," Harris said, his tone tense. Alina's eyes sharpened. "So are we. The humans had already proven they could stand up to the Empire, but the real challenge was ahead. The humans were no longer simply defending themselves. They were becoming the predators, forcing the Empire to react instead of dominate. And this, Captain Alina knew, was just the beginning of their fight. The humans were no longer the underdogs. They had shown the Empire that they could be a force to be reckoned with. The question was, how long could they keep it up before the Empire retaliated with everything they had? The battle in space had reached a boiling point. The human fleet had now proven itself to be a formidable opponent, and the Empire, despite its overwhelming size and firepower, was struggling to adapt. But Captain Alina knew the real test was yet to come. The humans had outmaneuvered the Empire, but the question remained, could they deal a decisive blow? The Empire's flagship had already taken damage, but it wasn't enough to cripple their forces. More ships had been deployed, and the Empire was beginning to regroup. Their strategy had shifted. Instead of pursuing an all-out attack, they were trying to encircle the human fleet. Their goal was clear: trap the humans and force them to surrender. But Captain Alina refused to let that happen. "Prepare the fleet," she ordered. "We're not running. It's time to turn the tables on them." The human ships had been evasive up to this point, always staying one step ahead. But now, Alina had a bold plan. It was risky, but it was their best chance to gain the upper hand. Instead of retreating, they would fight back, hard. The human ships began to maneuver into position, forming a defensive line that would funnel the Empire's forces into a concentrated area. The Empire's ships were massive, and they relied on their size and firepower to dominate. But the humans had agility, speed, and the element of surprise on their side. "Once we've got them in position," Captain Alina explained to her crew, "we hit them with everything we've got. This is our chance." The first wave of Empire ships charged forward, not realizing they were walking into a trap. As the ships closed in, the humans made their move. A volley of laser blasts lit up the darkness of space, striking several Empire ships before they could react. The Empire's flagship, though still intact, had been caught off guard. The humans had struck with such force and precision that the Empire's response was slow and disorganized. For the first time in the battle, the humans had the advantage. "It's working," Lieutenant Harris shouted, his voice filled with excitement. "They're retreating." But Captain Alina remained calm. "Don't let up. We're not out of this yet." The Empire had underestimated the humans' ability to strike back with such force. The massive ships that had once seemed invincible were now faltering under the pressure of the humans' rapid, unpredictable attacks. The human fleet's precision was unmatched, and their innovative strategies had forced the Empire to fight on their terms. One by one, Empire ships were knocked out of the battle, their weapons systems disabled, their engines damaged. The humans, with their smaller, more agile ships, darted around the larger vessels, avoiding the Empire's fire while landing blow after blow. Captain Alina watched the chaos unfold on her screen. Her crew had done the impossible. The Empire's massive warships, once seen as unbeatable, were now the ones on the defensive. The humans weren't just surviving. They were winning. "We've got them on the run," Alina said, her voice steady but filled with determination. "Now we finish this." But even as the humans closed in for the final strike, Captain Alina knew that the Empire wouldn't go down easily. They still had power, still had resources to deploy. The battle was far from over. But one thing was clear. Humanity had proven itself capable of facing the Empire and coming out on top. The question now was, how would the Empire respond? And would the humans be ready for the next wave? The battle was far from over, and Captain Alina knew the Empire would not take their defeat lightly. The human fleet had landed several devastating blows, but the Empire's forces were vast and their power unmatched. The humans had struck first, catching the Empire off guard, but now the tables were about to turn. As the human ships continued to regroup, Captain Alina studied the Empire's movements. The Empire's ships were retreating for now, But it was clear that they were not running away in fear. Instead, they were repositioning, preparing for their next move. The humans had proven themselves to be a worthy adversary, and the Empire wasn't about to let that stand. "Captain," Lieutenant Harris called out, "we're detecting reinforcements. Several new ships are entering the system." Captain Alina's heart sank. The Empire had called for backup. Their forces were about to increase, and this time, the humans would be outnumbered even more. "What kind of ships?" she asked, trying to keep her voice steady. "A light warships, heavily armored. They're bringing out their best to finish this." Alina looked at the display screen. The new fleet of Empire ships was unlike anything the humans had faced. The warships were enormous, each one bristling with weapons and shields, designed to crush any opposition in its path. The humans had made a mistake by showing their strength too early. The Empire would not make the same mistake again. "Get our fleet into defensive formation," Alina ordered. "We're not backing down, but we need to be ready for whatever comes next." The human fleet quickly regrouped, the ships aligning in a protective shield around their flagship. The crew moved with precision, following Alina's orders without question. They had faced the Empire's wrath before, and they would do it again. But as the new Empire ships drew closer, a sense of unease settled over the crew. The Empire's elite ships moved in slowly, carefully. They didn't make any sudden moves. Instead, they surrounded the humans, blocking off any possible escape routes. It was a classic tactic to trap their prey, forcing them into a corner where they could be destroyed. "We need to act fast," Captain Alina said, her voice urgent. "If we stay in this formation, we won't last. We have to hit them before they can set up their trap." The Empire's warships began to charge their weapons, the hum of their energy cores filling the air. Alina's mind raced, calculating the odds. The humans were outnumbered, but they had something the Empire didn't: creativity. "On my mark," she said to her crew, her voice firm. "Prepare to break formation and strike." The Empire's ships were now firing, their energy beams flashing through space with deadly precision. The human shields were taking the brunt of the damage, but they were holding strong. For now. "Mark," Alina shouted. Without hesitation, the human ships broke their defensive formation, scattering in all directions. It was a move that surprised the Empire, whose ships struggled to adjust to the humans' sudden shift. The humans moved in unpredictable patterns, darting between the Empire's larger ships, avoiding the deadly energy blasts as they returned fire with calculated accuracy. The battle was chaotic, but in the midst of the chaos, Captain Alina could see the Empire's cracks beginning to show. The humans had taken the initiative once again, and the Empire's elite ships were beginning to falter. But even as the tide seemed to turn in their favor, Captain Alina knew that the true challenge was just beginning. The Empire would not give up easily, and this fight would continue until one side was completely destroyed. And the question on Alina's mind was this: could the humans keep up their momentum, or had they already taken on more than they could handle? The battle had been raging for hours, and Captain Alina could feel the weight of the Empire's relentless pursuit. Despite the humans' remarkable ability to dodge and strike back with precision, the Empire had begun to change their tactics. The once slow and methodical approach had transformed into something far more dangerous. The Empire was getting desperate. The humans had proven they were no easy target, and the Empire could no longer afford to underestimate them. Alina's fleet had pushed back the Empire's elite forces, but now the Empire's most powerful assets were being called into play. Their reinforcements had arrived. Massive warships with experimental weapons that had never been used in battle before. The Empire was willing to risk everything to crush humanity. On the bridge of the flagship, Captain Alina stood at the helm, her eyes scanning the fleet of Empire ships that now surrounded them on all sides. Their firepower was overwhelming, and the humans were running low on energy reserves. They couldn't keep dodging forever. "We need to come up with something, or we won't survive this," Lieutenant Harris said, his voice tight with tension. "Their new ships are unlike anything we've seen. We don't have the resources to fight them directly. Alina's mind raced. She knew they couldn't win through sheer force. The Empire had too many ships, and their weapons were too powerful. But humanity had something the Empire didn't: ingenuity. "There's always a way," Alina said, her voice low but determined. "We've made it this far because we think outside the box. We're not fighting them with power. We're fighting them with creativity." She turned to her tactical officer, Commander Reyes. "Get me a full map of their fleet. Look for weaknesses, anything we can exploit." Reyes worked quickly, his fingers flying over the controls. The map of the Empire's fleet appeared on the screen. It was an imposing sight, but Alina had seen this kind of thing before. In every battle, there was always a weakness, something that could be used to turn the tide. "There," Reyes said, pointing to a gap in the Empire's formation. "They've left a small opening on the left flank. It's not much, but it's there." Alina nodded. "Prepare the fleet to move through that gap. We'll hit them where they least expect it." The crew immediately went to work, setting the human ships into motion. It was risky. If the Empire noticed their movement in time, they would be crushed. But Alina knew they had no choice. They couldn't outlast the Empire's firepower, but they could outsmart them. As the human ships slid into position, Alina's hand hovered over the comms button. "All ships, get ready. We're going to push through and strike with everything we have. This is our chance." For a moment, everything was silent. The humans were now in the perfect position to exploit the Empire's vulnerability. Alina could feel her pulse quicken as she gave the order. Now, the human fleet surged forward, their ships darting into the opening in the Empire's formation. The Empire's ships tried to react, but it was too late. The humans had already launched their attack, their weapons firing with deadly accuracy. One of the Empire's flagship vessels took a direct hit, and the Empire's defenses scrambled to respond. It wasn't a fatal blow, but it was enough to make the Empire hesitate. The human ships had broken through, and the Empire's overwhelming superiority was suddenly in question. "This is it," Lieutenant Harris said, his voice filled with awe. "They're retreating." But Captain Alina didn't let herself relax just yet. The Empire had only paused, not surrendered. They would regroup, they would come back stronger. The humans had bought themselves some time, but the battle was far from over. In that moment, Alina realized that the war was more than just about firepower. It was about heart. The humans had shown that, despite the odds, they could stand up to even the most powerful forces in the galaxy. But the true question was, how much longer could they keep it up? The Empire would return, and when they did, the humans had to be ready. The battle had reached a critical moment. Captain Alina stood at the helm of the flagship, watching the chaos unfold before her. The Empire's forces, once confident and overwhelming, were now on the defensive. The humans had struck them with unexpected force, exploiting the gaps in their formation, and for the first time in this battle, the Empire seemed uncertain. "Captain," Lieutenant Harris called out, his voice tense, "the Empire is starting to pull back. They're retreating to a safe distance. But I can tell, they're not finished. They're preparing for something big." Alina's brow furrowed as she studied the Empire's movements. The once unshakable force of the Galactic Empire had taken a hit, but Alina knew they wouldn't give up easily. Their pride had been wounded, and a wounded animal was always the most dangerous. "Get the fleet into formation. I want all ships on high alert," she ordered, her voice steady. "They're regrouping, and we need to be ready for whatever they throw at us next." The human ships quickly took up defensive positions, their crews working with practiced precision. The tension in the air was thick, but Alina's resolve was unwavering. They had made it this far, and they couldn't stop now. The humans had already proven they could survive against the Empire, but now it was time to strike the final blow. "We're not just going to sit here and wait for them to attack," Alina said, her voice cold with determination. "We're going to end this." The Empire's fleet suddenly surged forward, its massive ships charging at the human fleet with all the power they could muster. But Captain Alina wasn't shaken. She had known this moment would come. The Empire had spent too long in control, and now they would do whatever it took to reclaim their dominance. But the humans had a surprise of their own. "All ships, break formation," Alina shouted, her voice cutting through the tense silence. "We're going to hit them with everything we have." The human fleet scattered, their ships moving in unpredictable patterns as they launched their final assault. The Empire, caught off guard by the sudden shift, tried to adjust, but it was too late. The humans had already committed to their attack, and now the Empire was forced to react. Laser beams shot through the darkness of space as the human ships fired with precision, targeting the Empire's weak points. The humans didn't just fire. They aimed to disable, to disarm. Each strike was calculated, each shot carefully aimed at the Empire's most vulnerable points. "Captain, their flagship is taking damage," Lieutenant Harris reported, his voice full of disbelief. "They're weakening." Alina's eyes narrowed as she watched the Empire flagship's shields flicker. The Empire had finally underestimated humanity's ability to turn the tide of battle, and now it was paying the price. "We can do this," Alina said, her voice low but filled with fierce pride. "Keep pushing. We're not giving them a chance to recover." The human fleet pressed forward, landing blow after blow. The Empire's once unstoppable warships were now showing signs of weakness. Shields were failing, weapons were offline, and entire sections of the ships were beginning to break apart. Finally, after what felt like an eternity, the Empire flagship, the symbol of their power, was on the brink of destruction. A final, decisive strike hit its core systems, and the massive ship began to fall apart. "We did it," Lieutenant Harris whispered, his voice filled with awe. But Captain Alina knew this victory was more than just a single battle. The humans had shown the Empire that they were not to be underestimated. The tides of war had turned. The Empire had suffered a defeat, but they were far from finished. As the battle ended and the Empire's forces retreated, Captain Alina allowed herself a moment to breathe. But the war wasn't over. The humans had proven their strength, their resilience, and their ingenuity. But the true challenge was still ahead. The Empire would be back, and when they did, the humans would be ready. The battle was over, but the scars of war remained. The Empire's retreat was a victory for the humans, but Captain Alina knew that it was only the beginning of a long, uncertain road. The Empire had been forced to retreat, but their defeat was not complete. The humans had earned their place in the galaxy, but the question remained, what would the future hold? On the bridge of the flagship, Captain Alina stood silently, watching the distant stars flicker on the view screen. The battle had been brutal, and though they had emerged victorious, the cost was clear. Several human ships had been damaged, and the toll on the crew had been heavy. The victory felt bittersweet. "Captain," Lieutenant Harris said, his voice full of respect, "we've done it. The Empire's forces are retreating. They're pulling back to their home systems." Alina nodded, her face a mask of calm. "We've survived. But this is only one battle in a much bigger war. The Empire will come back. They won't let this defeat stand." "We're ready," Harris replied, determination in his voice. "We've proven we can take them on." Alina looked out at the fleet, her eyes sweeping over the ships that had stood by her side. The crew was exhausted, but there was pride in their faces. They had fought a battle that no one believed humanity could win. They had taken on the most powerful empire in the galaxy and walked away victorious, even if it was just one step in a long journey. "We've shown the Empire that humanity is not weak," Alina said, her voice steady. "We've shown them that we can stand against the odds. But this battle isn't the end. It's just the beginning." The humans had earned a moment of respite, but the war was far from over. Alina knew that the Empire would regroup, rebuild, and return with even more force. But the humans had proven something important that day. They had proven that, No matter how strong the enemy, no matter how impossible the odds, humanity would never back down. "Send out a message to all human fleets," Alina said, her voice resolute. "Tell them what we've achieved here today. Let them know that the Empire isn't invincible. Let them know that we are not to be underestimated." She paused for a moment, her gaze turning to the crew. "This is the dawn of a new era. Humanity has just taken its first step into the galaxy, and we will be ready for whatever comes next." The crew erupted into applause, a cheer of victory that echoed throughout the ship. They had won the battle, but Alina knew that the war was far from over. The Empire would return, but so would the humans. They had proven their strength, their ingenuity, and their ability to overcome any challenge. As the human fleet moved away from the remnants of the Empire's forces, Captain Alina looked forward, a sense of hope rising within her. The Empire may have been the dominant force in the galaxy, but now humanity had a seat at the table. They had proven their worth. The future was uncertain, but one thing was clear: humanity's place in the galaxy had been secured. And no matter what came next, Captain Alina and her crew would be ready. The fight was far from over, but now, humanity was no longer the underdog.